VC, can you see me? What's up, guys? I just want to talk. Honestly, I just want to make a video. So I hope you guys are just down, just chilling and, you know, sitting back, filling up your glass of wine, or cracking your bottle of beer, or drinking your juice, and drinking your gin, and speak my mind and catch up with you guys, say hello. Never tell if that camera's right or not. I hope this is okay. I just don't want my head to be missing out in that, you know. Dumb phones. If only I had a tripod for my phone, right? But when I put a reflection against it and I press it against the window, I could see sort of where it's seeing from the reflection. This is my first time listening to this. I know I was gonna like it from like skipping through it quickly. It was my first time listening to it in full. So I figured what better way? It's nice background music. This is Michael Legrand, or Michael Legrand. I think it's Michael Legrand, or like Legrand. Brian's song, Themes and Variations. Such a cool cover. You can hear it. And this first song is Brian's song. It's from the movie called Brian's Song. Suppose he's most famous for people who recognize that right away. So enjoy the music, man. Good background music. Good piano player. So today is me and Mary's 10-month anniversary. And I know it sounds so silly because it's like, oh, 10 months, you know? Like, how long is that? You know what I mean? But it's crazy, man, because I just feel like it's been long. I feel like so much has happened that it feels like it should be a lot longer than it really is. It really blows my mind. And it's sort of cool because I think it's because there's been so many changes in my life since I've met her. I might have told this story here or there. I'm sure I've gained new subscribers since then. I want to sort of talk about how me and Mary met a little bit. So I was working this sales job, right? A couple years ago, I left my college town a year later, came down here, and then got into this sales gig with this major company that has offices all across the country, and they expand from within and promote from within. Do sales with DirecTV and all the major stores. If you guys live in an area that's a major city area and there's Best Buys and Sam's Club, it's probably a really good chance you guys actually see these DirecTV guys in your Sam's Club or your Best Buys trying to like switch you over to DirecTV. Anyway, I don't want to talk much about that. Anyway, it did really well in the company, and within 6 months of starting, from June of 2010 to December 2010, besides 2 months being here, I was in Minnesota from that period of time with my guy who raised me up in the company, got promoted, and then started running my own show in Maryland in this little town called Hagerstown, an hour out of DC and Baltimore. And I was running an office, like serious, like federal tax ID number, that official. Interviews every day of the week. Never had, dude, I was working for more than a year, right around a year, and I didn't have like any, I feel like I never had a day off, because I was always working on my day off on a Wednesday as well. We worked all weekends. Anyway, it got really rough, and I wasn't feeling it, and I started really like just feeling like I was just getting upset, and I guess I wouldn't really call it depressed necessarily, but it was just, I was run down, you know? So I was ready to go, and, you know, my office got shut down, and I left the office, and I went to Indianapolis for like almost a month, only 3 weeks maybe, and moved all my stuff there. And then I realized when I was there with another person's office, the guy who trained me at the beginning when he expanded to Indianapolis, when I was in Indy, I just realized more and more, like if I was selling, I like was able to like, okay, great, but it was just throwing stuff under the rug. And when I wasn't having a good day and wasn't selling anything by my halfway point, it was like calling my family, sitting down, taking longer lunch breaks than I ever normally would. I used to be in and out there to sell, and, you know, call my family, my friends, tell them I can't wait to be home and stuff, and I wish I could be home, and I wish I could see you guys, and I miss you, and I don't know what to do, what should I do? So one day I called up my guy, who's my boss, who was like sort of my mentor, and he met me. I said, man, I gotta talk to you right now, and I left the store in the middle of the day. Met him at a Starbucks, which is very funny. I just thought about that for the first time. Man, I know it sounds like nothing to you guys, but that's pretty funny to me, actually. I met at a Starbucks, and when I told him that I'm no longer going to be working there, man, just shows another example of the Lord just following you when you don't even know it, you know? Just chasing up to you, trying to catch up. Yeah, I told him I was done with it. A few days later, I left Indianapolis, packed my stuff in the car, and came home. Just like that. So all this stuff I worked for, and bam. I had some money to show for it, but, you know, I built up debts as well. And then, so I met Mary. You know, it's this one girl that I was with for like dating for like only a week or so. Long story short, it was like 2 weeks, and like it was like she was sort of different, but I was sort of down, and it was sort of like awkward at times, but it was whatever. And what's really funny is the last night I saw her, I took her to a Fish concert, and I was dancing my ass off, dancing the night away. I was loving it. She was like the only person there not dancing. She listens to like hardcore music and stuff, but like I mean, like I can listen to hardcore, but I can listen to anything, you know. She wasn't really down, so I was just funny. I was flipping the flip-flops off, stripping my beers, getting down to a really great Fish show. My first time seeing Fish live. And she wasn't down, and that was the last night I ever saw her. I brought her to her friend's place, we talked a bit, we left on a weird term, and I never saw her again. So Mary knows if she goes to a Fish show with me, she better be dancing. So, and then the following weekend I went to my cousin's wedding, and I went to New York for that, and that was the same weekend, on the way back from the trip, and over that course of that weekend, I started emailing Mary. And that situation with Mary is that I was on this dating website, OkCupid. It's a free dating website. I saw her for a while, like maybe a month or more, and she'd always pop back up in my choices of people who they connected me with. But the reason, I always was intrigued. Her photo was beautiful. I was in love with her and her photo to death, and I loved like her. Like I was so intrigued by her profile, the simplest little things. And it would just, you know, we always make this comment. She says that she's a professional woman by day and creative soul by night, and just really cute stuff. And but the one thing that prevented me from sending her a message was that, you know, she obviously talked about her involvement and how God plays a big part in her life and her being a Christian. And at the time I wasn't a Christian, so it's sort of like, alright, can a girl who's so into the Lord and such a follower of God be into someone like me who's not, and fall in love with a guy who's not, you know? And I just figured that didn't make sense. So I didn't really pursue it. And that weekend of my cousin's wedding, after the past girl and all that stuff like that, I decided, oh, you know, I always tell Mary, I said, oh, I decided, hey, I'll send the religious girl a message. So I sent her a little one-liner message that was like, sending her a wink, and it was just like, you know, just let you know I've had my eye on you for a while now, and supposedly she liked it. So she sent me a message back, and she sent me a message back, and we were talking a bit, but I felt bad because it was the wedding weekend. You know, wedding weekend, your phone always ends up dying in the charger, you never get charged, and all, it just happens that way. So when I got charged again, and I was using it on this long drive home, it was like 10, 11 plus hours from New York to Charlotte. It was longer because we stopped and we had an issue with my brother in the car. I finally got her messages, so we were emailing back and forth, and man, we had some great emails. I never talked to someone that way, you know. I'm not really a writer type. Side note on the writer type, I got a message from Memphis Final Jim. I already talked to him about how much it meant to me. Rob from Boston, you recently sent me a message wanting to let you know that I haven't gotten back to it. Like I said, I feel like I move around a lot, and even when I'm not moving, I guess I just do other things, and I never found my time. It's like almost like ADD for sitting down. I want you to know that your message meant a lot to me. And I'm thinking I know you know that meant a lot to me. So, you know, I've sent Jim the same thing. I'll send you a message in case you forget, but I would love to get your phone number. I asked you once before. I'm more of a talker, which every one of you know. So I would love to have a number and talk to you on a more personal basis rather than just writing. That's just how I am. But I want you to know personally that, say to everyone that I loved your message and it meant the world to me. Back to the story. Yeah. So eventually, a week or so after I came back here, after emailing and stuff like that, a week or two, we set up our first date. Went well. Set up our second date, went well, kept dating. Eventually, you know, it just became official. First day was June 30th, hence 10 months today. But man, I remember, man, I would love to have Mary talk to you guys about this one time. It'd be really funny. But for the most part, it's just, I've never had, like, I told her that the big difference with my last relationship and like relationships in general with her is that there was something more to it, and it's obviously there's so much love there, but there's so much respect, you know? A past relationship, there was always something missing where like you can look at a person and think like, man, that person is such a great person in the way they interact with every other, like you notice the way that Mary interacts with every single person. And, you know, I watched her work with kids in children's ministry, and it's like, man, I know that I'm lucky to have a woman that'd be such a great mother. And, you know, just the way she takes care of me with her cooking is like, she's such a great wife. And not to, like, you know, like, say that's all that matters, you know what I'm saying. It's just, like, all general characteristics. And then I started realizing that when I wasn't a Christian, like, I was, you know, a great idea of what you should be as a Christian is to show other people the light, to bring them out of the darkness. So, you know, Mary's light, what I'm getting at is that through messages and meeting Mary, Mary's light was just gleaming. Just gleaming. And it spoke volumes to me, and it has ever since, you know? And I always get worried because I don't want that to fade off, because everybody has those, you know, everybody as their relationships grow, you get so used to getting used to what's normal, like seeing Mary every other day or every day is normal, and I don't want to ever lose those feelings, you know, and then they come back all the time, so it's good. It's good music, by the way, right? If you're following. Quick story, it's funny. Our first date, right? I was doing that DirecTV job when I came back here for a little bit to see if it worked for me, which it didn't end up working out. I wasn't excited, so I couldn't sell stuff. So I had a date with her at a place called Cabo Fish Taco, which is a really great restaurant in this art district of Charlotte called NODA, for North Davidson Street. It was on Food Network and stuff for drive-ins, diners, drive-ins, and dives. With Guy Fieri. And so I was trying to get there in time. I was rushing to get there. I was going to make it like around that time. Very, very punctual. I like being punctual. And there's a train track. And I've never seen a train get in the way of this track, but I'm not there that often. So a train comes by, so it's going down there. And man, I'm telling you, like, it must have been down there for 10 minutes or more. And I was like, what the hell? You know, I was like so angry because I don't like not being on time. So, oh, it's probably her texting me. So I pull off. I had to change the clothes that were nicer clothes, right? So I was keeping my dress pants on from the day, and I had to change out of my DirecTV polo into a nice button-down collared shirt. So I figured, what the hell? I get out of my car, I rip my shirt off, I'm standing out in the open, throw my new shirt on, get back in the car. What's the big deal? And I call Mary, and I tell her, hey, listen, I'm sorry I lose my track of thought so easily. I'm so out of it. I gotta wake up in like 5 hours from now to go to work, open the store. So I call her, I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm late, blah, blah, there's just train, all that. And she goes, you know what? She's like, me too. And she's like, I think I'm behind you. And she was cracking up because, so meanwhile, hasn't met me before. She's behind me. And her not knowing it's me, she sees a guy in front of her get out of the car and starts stripping. And so she's like, what is this guy doing? You know? And and then she's thinking to herself, oh, you know what? Tim did tell me he drove a white Pontiac. So she's putting it together, and then bam, I call her and I tell her. So that's one of the funny stories to tell. Another story another time. Yeah. So Mary came over today, and another thing is that she's so great with my family, you know, she's so great with my family, and that's another thing I thought was so amazing, because, you know, in the past, with my last girlfriend, you know, she didn't interact as much, and it's just her type of personality at times, so it's just so nice, like, I can leave a room and go around my house and do my own thing and interact with another family member, knowing that Mary's okay, and she can stand her own ground, you know what I mean? And some people aren't used to that, being able to, some people can't do that stuff, you know, no offense to the past girlfriends, some people can't do it. But Mary's so great at it, and it's so great and nice to have. Yeah, so I'm just talking about Mary. Love her to death. 10 months. Lots happened. And her parents are coming in like less than a month. They're staying for 8 days. So that should be really nice and exciting and interesting to say the least. And our parents are going to be meeting, and we were talking today how I think they really get along really well. Me and Mary is hanging out today, listen to vinyl records, we eat dinner with my family, listen to some classical music. Love that. Oh man. This stuff right here, 2 things. First of all, I listened to the first side of this, and it's baller. It's a 2-disc set, if you remember. But man, am I excited to start to really familiarize myself with Mozart. I mean, obviously the man's always the man, right? He's the man himself. So, this is great on EMI Angel. This is funny, look. And then, you guys should really check this out. There's this really, really great American composer who spent most of his life actually performing in different places. His name is Mozart&Gottschalk, and this is that one I show called The Union. This dude is just dope. This guy really is a great, great pianist, and these write-ups in the back here are just amazing stuff, really cool stuff. This is also on the Angel stereo label. I mean, yeah, stereo copies. Louis Moreau Gottschalk. He grew up in like New Orleans area, so he did some really nice mixing of like his style of New Orleans type of stuff into his classical music. And it's funny, it says here, Europeans found Gottschalk's work irresistible, particularly his compositions in which he incorporated the tunes and rhythms of the Afro-Americans of New Orleans. Precisely those elements were less successful with American audiences. When Gottschalk returned to the States in 1853, it was his European-oriented works that were admired. This is really cool. Check this out. In 1857, Gottschalk sailed with soprano Adelina Patti for a joint tour of the West Indies. When the appearances were completed and the other members of the company returned to the States, Gottschalk did a curious thing. Remaining in the Caribbean, he simply took a leisurely time out to reflect and lead the sensual, irresponsible life the tropics made both easy and enticing. His holiday endured nearly 3 years, and then he came back and the Civil War was going on. Your boy went on like a 3-year bender and came back and just kept performing for like thousands of concerts during Civil War time. It's crazy. I want to try, my internet's been really bad, so I'm not going to keep going too much past once this side ends of the record. But I did want to tell you one other thing. Some really great music. My buddy Max, that I mentioned to you guys in the past video, who always tells me about great music, told me about some really awesome stuff. Well, that one particular album, Robert Glasper. Now, Robert Glasper, he was like, oh yeah, he's like, you know Robert Glasper? And I was like, oh, you know, the name rings a bell. You know, a lot of times the names can ring a bell, but then there's that time when the name rings a bell, but you might just be thinking in your head, and then in all actuality, maybe you never heard of him. And then like, we were looking into him, like, you know what? And I'm like, I knew that. I looked at him, I looked into him more. He's a pianist, jazz pianist, and he has like a neo-soul vibe to him. I'm like, I think he's involved. You know what? He's done work with Dilla. I'm like, that's how I knew him. And he's part of the whole Soulquarians collective that had like Dilla, Talib Kweli, Mos Def, D'Angelo, you know, Questlove, Erykah Badu, Robert Glasper, you know, and this whole crew of like this whole Soulquarians movement, when they all put all these great albums that they all worked together on during these particular years, like some Roots albums and like Water for Chocolate from Common and D'Angelo's Brown Sugar or whatever album. No, that's not. Brown Sugar's totally wrong. No. The one that has How Does It Feel on it, I think, is actually with them. And other records. So, in general, yeah. Now, this guy, Robert Glasper, has 3 other albums, I think, before this, but I've only listened to this new one. This new album of his is called Black Radio. And it's like this experimental neo-soul album. It's unbelievably good. It's really serious. Everyone should be checking this out. And it has some really cool guest appearances like Music Soulchild and Erykah Badu and Mos Def on the track. And it's just every single song has like a little fade out and then a little fade into a little clip of a small part. But there's just some really good stuff on there. A particular favorite of mine is a song called Ah Yeah. And it has Music Soulchild and Chrisette Michele. So everyone should check that out. Robert Glasper, Ah Yeah, and you'll know what's up. Really cool stuff. Also, I'm very, very excited that Marilyn Manson's new album dropped today, Born Villain, and they have all the critics and all the reviews seem to be really up notch and just really positive things, and I'm really excited. I'm always excited about it. I mean, it's funny because I feel like they're like all talking about how he's back into his form and stuff, and how it has a really nice. I might go into it more when I actually know it well and discuss it, because there's lots of things I wanted to say about what I've read on it, but I wanted to like talk more about it and like how excited I was before I actually listened to it. So I have it downloaded, gonna burn it, still haven't listened to it, but I'm very excited about all the things I read about it, and I'm pumped. But let me just say that I do not think that his last album was. I mean, I'm so down with this last album. So, yeah. So that Golden Age Grotesque was like sort of iffy, but there's some cool songs that you can see what he's going for. But Golden Age Grotesque is the only one I'm sort of about. But every other album of Marilyn Manson's is bam. I mean, Smells Like Children is also sort of just B-side type of stuff. But Mechanical Animals, Portrait of American Family, Hollywood, Antichrist Superstar. I like my Marilyn, so I'm excited for that. I'm going to listen to it tomorrow, hopefully, and get down real dirty. Last but not least, I'm pretty excited. You can't see it, but I can, and I'm excited. Over here in my bed, I have your package ready for you, Mr. Conrad. So I'm very, very excited to get that out. Now it's just a matter of when I get it out, money-wise. But I have it ready to go, which feels great to know I have it ready when I'm ready. So send me your information. Maybe I'll hit you up with a message, but in case I don't, whenever you feel like it, hit me up with your info. And also, Daryl, I got your 3 mixes on my computer completed, so don't think I haven't been thinking about it. I have. Just been pretty busy lately, I guess. Oh, one last thing. You guys have been noticing this. It's a stone that I'm throwing around in my hand. I've been holding on to it for important, it has a special place for me, an important reason right now for today and this week, and maybe how long ever I want to be. My church is called Renovatus, and my pastor's name is Jonathan Martin. And Jonathan Martin, starting last Sunday, a week from yesterday, started a series called The Song of Ascent, and it's a series on the life of David. And, you know, David wrote the Psalms, and David had a very interesting life growing up and wasn't really necessarily the best person that people would think that God would choose, even though he did, and things like that. And it's all new to me, you know, there's just lots of things in the Bible that are new to me, so, you know, I'm hungry for all the info. And he did this series, and then we took my little brother, too, and he sat with us, me and Mary. I'm excited, it was good because he was excited to hear about the whole, Mary's talking about David and Goliath, and he was like, oh, I wonder if he'll do it. He did talk about it. And for 15 years of preaching, Jonathan says the first time he ever did a sermon, a message on David and Goliath. And he did a really great job. Amazing job for our first time talking about it and preaching it. And anyway, without getting into all the info, everyone was, when they came in, had their stone. And the significance of the stone and was the idea that, you know, in the Bible it talks about when David... the King Saul gives David his armor, and he, you know, it's sort of a funny picture because David's putting on the armor and it doesn't fit him well, and you can picture David running, little David going around this armor that makes him feel comfortable and look funny, and he's like, you know, this armor isn't for me, and he takes it off. And then Jonathan was expanding on the idea of people who are just, you know, when you're trying to do something and go forward with something new, but you're not doing it in your own state of mind of what you think is good for yourself, but you're sort of trying to like make it complete and do things in a way that are pleasing others with their armor on when you really need to do it on your own. I'm probably not making the best sense of that, but it's the idea. You can sort of expand on it on your own. Anyway, and he talked about how funny it was and how it wasn't natural even back then that there's all this weaponry and stuff like that. And what does David do? David goes to the pond or the lake. He picks up 5 smooth stones to go ahead and kill this giant, you know. And it sort of just has this idea of the stone for us representing the different things going on in our lives that God has given us, and how we handle them, and how, you know, basically David went ahead and took these stones and nailed Goliath with the stone right at him in the forehead and killed him by throwing that stone in the faith of God. So I couldn't keep thinking about the fact of what the God has given me in my life right now is that job opportunity with the hotel. And I've been holding on to this, remembering that when I go into whatever, you don't listen to what anyone else says about you. You don't care about what other people, what their opinions are and what's going on in your life. You do it for you, and you do you. And for me, I'm doing that job, and I'm living out my life, with the faith of Jesus. And so this is sort of a stone is to represent that, and like here's sort of the idea. I just sound bad putting it together. I feel dumb, sort of. I'm sorry. I'm sort of butchering the message and stuff, but I hope you're getting the gist of it. The best way to get it would really be listening to the podcast of the sermon. So if anyone is interested in listening to the sermon, please don't hesitate. I would love to hear from someone who would be interested in listening to the message that I'm talking about, and I'll send them a link to it. It'd be amazing to hear someone come to me for that. But yeah, anyway, that's what the stone's all about. It's just the idea of just it representing the things that life is that God's done for me, and just making sure that what am I going to when I throw this stone, that I'm going to do that with the faith, and it's sort of a reminder of what the Lord's been doing for me. So, take care for now, guys. Love you all. So long. One love.